My husband drained everything and walked out. Our daughter looked up from breakfast and said, "Don't worry, I already took care of something." She was rinsing her cereal bowl when she said it. That's the detail I can't forget. Not the words themselves, though they stopped my heart, but the image of my 12-year-old daughter standing at the sink in her school uniform, calmly rinsing out the last of her Cheerios. Placing the bowl in the drying rack with the same quiet precision she used in everything, and then turning to me with those dark, steady eyes, saying it as if she were commenting on the weather. "Mom, don't worry. I already handled something." I almost laughed. I was 20 minutes into the worst discovery of my life. My hands were still cold, my mind still processing, the bank's confirmation still echoing in my ears, and my child was telling me not to worry because she had handled something. She was 12. She had a backpack covered in astronomy stickers. And a retainer she left on her nightstand every morning, and a playlist called Focus Mode she listened to while doing homework. She had handled something. I didn't laugh. Instead, I stood still in our kitchen in Columbus, Ohio, on a Tuesday morning in March, and watched my daughter pick up her backpack, loop both straps over her shoulders in that calm, methodical way she had, and walk out the front door to catch the bus. As if the ground hadn't just shifted beneath us, as if she already knew exactly where stability was. It took me 3 more days to understand what she meant. By then, it was already too late for Mark. I need to explain who we were before I explain what happened. Because none of this makes sense without the 14 years leading up to that Tuesday morning. And because I spent a long time after everything fell apart wondering if I had missed something, some sign. Some fracture in the foundation. The truth is, I had. I just didn't have the words for it at the time. Mark Calloway and I met at a mutual friend's wedding in 2009. He was 31. I was 28. He had that quality some men have of seeming completely at ease with themselves. Not arrogant, just settled, comfortable in his own skin in a way that, at 28, felt like one of the most attractive traits a person could have. I was a middle school English teacher then. He worked in commercial real estate. Mid-level, nothing remarkable, but stable. We dated for 2 years, got married, bought a small house in a good school district, and had Emma. Life narrowed. The way it often does with a child. My salary covered the basic household expenses and Emma's daycare, while Mark's commission-based income went toward savings and the mortgage. It was a practical arrangement, a typical one. I taught 7th grade English 5 days a week and came home to a child who, from the very beginning, was quietly exceptional. Emma had been reading since she was 3, not just sounding out words, but reading full sentences with understanding. By 6, she had finished the school library's chapter books, and her teacher had to request more from the public library. By 8, she was writing code in Scratch, then Python. Watching YouTube tutorials at night and asking me questions I couldn't answer. By 10, she had built her own website, a book review blog, carefully organized with a rating system she designed herself. I was proud of her in a way that sometimes leaned into something more complex, something like admiration. Something like the quiet awareness that you are raising someone operating on a level you can only partly understand. Mark was proud of her too, or at least he appeared to be. Well enough that I couldn't tell the difference. I convinced myself there was no difference. The first sign was subtle. So subtle I didn't recognize it as a warning. About 8 months before he left, Mark started working late. Not dramatically. Not every night, not in a way that raised alarm, but the average time he got home shifted from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, 8:30, sometimes 9 o'clock. I told myself the real estate market had picked up. Columbus was growing. It made sense he was busier. 6 months before he left, he became careful with his phone. Not secretive. Just careful. Not the exaggerated behavior you see in movies, but a new habit of placing it face down on the counter, angling it slightly away when he typed. I noticed it the way you notice a piece of furniture has been moved, a small but clear disruption in a familiar space. Then I told myself I was imagining it. 4 months before he left, the joint savings account dropped by $6,000 in a single month. Mark said the HVAC estimate had come in and he had paid a deposit. I didn't remember discussing any HVAC issue. He seemed mildly irritated that I asked, which made me feel slightly guilty for asking, something I now recognize as a subtle form of control that I can clearly see in hindsight, but didn't recognize then. So I told myself everything was fine. The night he left, I was at book club. Karen Peterson hosts it at her house on the third Thursday of every month. There's always a bottle of red wine. Always more conversation than actual discussion of the book, and I'm always home by 10 o'clock. It's one of the most routine parts of my life. I was sitting on Karen's couch at 8:15, laughing about something I can't even remember now, while across town, my husband of 12 years was moving through our house with quiet, deliberate purpose. I got home at 9:50. The light was on in Emma's room. Mark's side of the closet looked, I checked the next morning, exactly the same. He had taken one bag. Enough for now. Everything else was something he would deal with later, once we were far enough behind him. I went to sleep not knowing anything had changed. Emma knew. She had watched him pack from the hallway and didn't say a word. I learned that much later. I think about it often. Tuesday morning. Mark's side of the bed was empty but made the way he always made it, tight corners and all. I assumed he had left early. I got up, got dressed, made Emma's breakfast, sat across from her at the table in the usual way. That's when he walked past with his bag. He didn't say goodbye to me. He looked at Emma and said, Daddy has to go take care of a few things, Bug. He called her Bug. He had called her that since she was a baby. Emma looked at him with those calm, steady eyes and said, Okay. That was it, just okay. After the door closed, I told Emma what I was telling myself. Dad's going on a work trip. She looked at me for a moment, then back at her cereal. She knew I was lying. I knew she understood. We both sat with that quietly over Cheerios. 20 minutes after he left, I was at my laptop. Checking account, $240. Savings account, $0. Emma's college fund, 12 years of birthday checks from her grandparents. Every year I had reduced vacation spending to save the difference, $0. The transfers had taken place over 3 days. While I was at school teaching 7th graders about The Outsiders, while I was at book club. Laughing about nothing. 3 days of quiet, deliberate movement, account to account, and then out somewhere I couldn't trace. I called the bank at 8:47 a.m. A representative named Terrence explained everything with the practiced calm of someone delivering news he gives often. Every transfer was legal. His name was on all the accounts. There was nothing they could do. I sat in the kitchen chair for a long time after I hung up. My hands rested in my lap. I couldn't feel them. That's when Emma rinsed her bowl, dried it, put it away, turned to me with those steady eyes, and said, Mom, don't worry. I already handled something. I didn't know how to respond to that. I spent the rest of the day doing what needed to be done, calling our family attorney, Linda Cho, leaving a message that I needed to speak with her urgently. Calling my sister in Cleveland, who said, Oh my God, 7 times and offered to drive over. Crying in the shower for about 11 minutes, then stopping because it felt unnecessary when there were real problems to solve. Linda Cho returned my call at 4:30. She had been practicing family law in Columbus for 22 years. She was thorough, slightly direct, and did not offer false reassurance, which was exactly what I needed. I explained the transfers. She paused. The accounts were joint. All of them, including Emma's college account, it was technically under both our names. Had he left the state? I didn't know where he had gone. Another pause. Sarah, freeze your credit immediately tonight. All 3 bureaus. And check if there have been any recent hard inquiries you didn't authorize. Why? Because someone who empties accounts and leaves quietly is rarely finished, they are usually just beginning. I froze my credit that night. All 3 bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, one after another, sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop while Emma worked in her room, or what I assumed was homework. 3 days after he left, I went to put clean laundry on Emma's desk. I noticed the paper, a printed email thread, 3 pages, single-spaced. Mark's name at the top of the thread, and a name I didn't recognize. Rebecca Howell. I read it standing there. The laundry basket against my side, and the cold set in slowly, the way it does when it's serious. Hotel reservations, meeting schedules, the shorthand language of 2 people who had been communicating for a long time and no longer felt the need to hide in private channels, and a line about 2/3 down the first page that made me set the laundry basket down and sit on Emma's bed, handling Sarah when the time comes. Don't worry about it. The loan goes through Friday and will be set before she realizes anything is wrong. The loan. I read it again. The loan goes through Friday. Emma appeared in the doorway. School had ended an hour earlier. She was holding her empty dinner plate. Completely composed, as if she had been waiting. How did you get these? She came in and sat beside me on the bed. Dad isn't careful with passwords, she said. He uses the same one for everything, Emma 2012, my birth year. A pause. I've known it for 2 years. I looked at my 12-year-old daughter. How long have you known about this, about Rebecca? 6 weeks. She said it the way you would say, since April. I saw a message on his phone in February when he left it on the counter. I didn't say anything because I wanted to understand what was actually happening first. 6 weeks. She had known for 6 weeks while I made his coffee, asked about his day, and had no idea our marriage had become a structured deception. Emma, what did you do with what you found? She reached under her mattress and pulled out a spiral notebook, purple cover, her name on the front in neat block letters. She placed it on the bed between us and opened it. Pages of handwritten notes, dates, times, account numbers I had never seen. Printed screenshots from the home printer, a timeline organized in 3 different colors. He didn't just take our money, she said. She opened her laptop. Turned the screen toward me. Loan documents. My name on the application. Emma's name. Emma's social security number, my 12-year-old daughter's social security number, on a mortgage application for a property in Sarasota, Florida. $200,000 in debt in our names for a house being purchased by my husband and a woman named Rebecca Howell. The room felt unsteady. He was planning to disappear, Emma said. Not as emotion. Just as a conclusion. He and Rebecca were going to move to Florida and leave us with the debt. By the time anyone identified the fraud, they would be established somewhere else under different financial structures. I couldn't respond. Emma, my voice sounded unfamiliar. What did you do? She turned the laptop back toward herself. Opened a folder on the desktop. The folder was labeled countermeasures. Inside, organized with the same precise system Emma applied to everything, were the following: fraud reports filed with all 3 credit bureaus, flagging the unauthorized use of her social security number, submitted the same night I thought she was doing homework, 3 days before I froze my own credit. A formal identity theft report submitted through the FTC's identity theft portal with supporting documentation attached. A detailed complaint filed with the Ohio Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division, with the loan documents included as evidence. And something else, a separate folder labeled Rebecca. Inside, documentation of Rebecca Howell's employment at a financial advisory firm called Meridian Wealth Management in Columbus. Client account irregularities spanning 26 months. 11 elderly clients whose accounts showed unexplained withdrawals totaling approximately $340,000. Screenshots, transaction logs, and a 3-page summary written in Emma's clear, structured language. "Where did you get this?" I asked quietly. "Meridian's client portal has a weakness in its session authentication," Emma said, as if it were an ordinary statement. "If you know what to look for, you can access statement histories without credentials." I found the irregularities in about 4 hours. She had been 12 years old, alone in her room at 10 o'clock at night, carefully taking apart the actions of the woman who was helping damage our family. "Emma, I didn't fully understand what I was asking." "She was taking retirement savings from elderly clients," Emma said. "No emotion, just fact. She deserved consequences." Rebecca Howell had been suspended from Meridian Wealth Management 2 days earlier, pending an internal investigation. The tip that triggered it had come from an anonymous source. I did not sleep that night. I lay in a bed that still carried the faint scent of my husband and stared at the ceiling, trying to hold several realities at once: the fraud, the loan, the missing money, and my daughter sitting alone in her room for 6 weeks managing all of it, color-coding her notes in 3 pens. She had watched me remain unaware while she worked. I met with Linda Cho in person on Thursday morning. I brought Emma's folder, the printed emails, the loan documents, and the notebook. Linda's paralegal, a detail-oriented woman named Gail, who had spent 15 years in financial litigation before moving to family law, reviewed everything in silence for about 20 minutes while Linda and I spoke. When Gail looked up, she said one word: identity theft. She placed the loan documents down. "This is federal." Linda was already reaching for her phone. "I'm calling Jim Pierce." James Pierce was a white-collar crime attorney with 27 years of experience, 9 of them as an assistant United States attorney before entering private practice. He was not inexpensive. Linda told me that directly, and I told her it didn't matter. Jim Pierce came in that afternoon, sat across from me in Linda's conference room, and reviewed everything with focused, steady. "My accounts are frozen. Rebecca lost her job. Someone with advanced technical ability is targeting us, and I don't know who." Emma walked into my classroom at that moment. I hadn't told her I was still at school. She had figured it out and came to find me. She placed her backpack on a desk, took out her laptop, opened it, and looked at me. I put the call on speaker. "Someone just accessed my email. Sarah, I can see it happening in real time. Someone is in my system right now, and I need you to." Emma extended her hand. I gave her the phone. "Hi, Dad." Silence. Complete silence, the kind that comes when someone is trying to adjust faster than they can. "Emma." His voice broke slightly. "Listen to me. Something serious is happening. Someone is doing things, making us look like criminals. Making it appear like you used my social security number," Emma said, "to take out a $200,000 loan." Her voice remained steady. More silence. Then, "Emma, I need you to understand. Things became complicated. Your mother and I. The FBI has the loan documents," Emma said. "Agent Forsyth has everything, the transfers, the accounts you opened in Mom's name, the structuring pattern." She paused. "The Florida mortgage didn't close. It was flagged this morning." A sound came from the other end, something between a breath and something heavier. "Emma," his voice was nearly unrecognizable. I'm asking you. I have nothing left. I'm living out of my car. Whatever you've done, please. You taught me something, Emma said. You taught me that the people who are supposed to protect you sometimes don't. Silence. So you have to protect yourself. She ended the call, set my phone on the desk, closed her laptop. Picked up her backpack, looked at me. I have homework, she said, and walked out of the classroom while somewhere in a parking lot in Florida, her father sat with a phone in his hand, understanding. Execution and ethical application. She stood at the podium at the Columbus Convention Center in a blue dress she chose herself, accepted her award. And said into the microphone, in her usual concise way, I built this because I believe people in vulnerable situations deserve protection from financial exploitation. Thank you. The room applauded. I was sitting in the third row, and my hands would not stop shaking the entire time, not from fear, but from something I still cannot fully define. She returned to her seat and sat beside me. You okay? I asked her, repeating her words back to her. She looked at me with those steady, quiet eyes. Yeah. She said. I'm good. She picked up her program and began reading the names of the other award recipients with genuine interest. And I sat beside my daughter in the third row and thought about a Tuesday morning in March, a bowl of Cheerios, and a 12-year-old who had already decided, weeks before I even knew there was a decision, that we were going to be okay. She was right. We were.